So we had a few questions for you about basically just your thoughts since the book was written, looking at things like one of my students last year recently bought a point and shoot camera, just the Canon was like the 960, and it shoots HD, and even though it's a point and shoot camera, I mean, it looks pretty good. What are your thoughts on how things are going with that?
I'm pleasantly surprised how it's going. I mean, I have mixed feelings because the more devices that allow people to capture video, I don't care what they capture on. No one should care what device they're using, really. It's all it all works. My only concern, and I'm trying not to be a purist about it, but there's a couple things that you get with a camcorder that you just don't seem to get with any kind of recording video device. And the two most important things are the ability to zoom, so you can change your focal length to something, because I don't believe you can really tell a story if you can't control the way people are seeing the material.
Right.
So to the degree you can't do that, that's a problem for me. And then the second thing is the same question, the same idea, but it's being able to have an off-camera viewfinder, an LCD or something, so that I can hold the camera above my head or down low, and I don't have to be behind it.
Right.
If you have to be behind the camera, again, it limits the point of view to being from your height, looking straight ahead. I mean, you can kneel down, you can stand up on a chair, but it's less common. And so, again, you're limiting the way that the vocabulary that people who are shooting video have to tell a story. That being said, that's a bit of a purist state, and the truth is any device can capture video, and any motivated person can use it to shoot something interesting and can cut it into something useful. So I wouldn't make them hard and fast rules, but it's just harder, and it really makes it, you don't get as good edited videos from the stuff you get from any kind of camera that's just doubling to capture video. And that's true even for like a flip camera or a lot of really good quality cameras of various kinds, of very convenient cameras, don't give you those abilities. And I can't wholeheartedly endorse them, even though I think that they're totally acceptable in many situations.
Right, right. So what kind of things do you endorse? Just anything that has that flip LCD that you can hold.
Yeah, I try not to be product specific, because things are invented all the time that you just kind of have to decide what you're looking at. But even back in the 40s and 50s, one of the great things about the 2¼ cameras that the journalists were using is that they had a top-down viewfinder, so they'd hang the camera around their neck, and it would be inside their jacket, and they'd open their jacket up like a little bit, and the camera's looking at them, and they could kind of look down, frame it up, and then they're not behind the camera. They can interact with their subjects and take pictures, and it gave the quality of their photos it gave the photos a certain quality that we really respect today of photojournalism. I believe that to capture a lot of stuff that you want to have devices that are all over the place, high and low and hidden and stuff. And just when it's in front of your face, I'm uncomfortable. So when you ask what do I endorse, it's no particular product. It's a sort of a philosophy of design. And the truth is they're very expensive to make. So if the choice is you don't have a camera, or you have one that's fixed and you can't hold it over your head to look, I mean, well, then, of course, I'm fine that everyone has cameras.
So when you're looking at camcorders, are you still a big fan of tape? Because I know, like, we mostly use the flip, and that just goes straight to the built-in 8 gig hard drive. In your book, you talk a lot about, having the backup, having tape. Is that changed for you now?
Yeah. That book came out just in the worst moment in technology, as we're just the last year or so of tape and the first years of the drives. And, it was very hard to just tell someone who's getting into video, oh, yeah, splurge and get all this stuff and this new equipment. Yeah. But in the past few years, it just continues to get better for us every year. And at the end of the day, I can't really endorse tape anymore. It's just too hard to do. But I do really encourage people to understand that their content is incredibly ephemeral now. I mean, it's taken that step into the world where you need to understand data and data protection, which I didn't want to have to explain, but I think we're old enough now to have to deal with that, both for our photos and our music and now our video. So if they understand, they can get a nice big honking terabyte drive. They can
Mm-hmm.
get a RAID to back it up. They can be conscious of that, and then it's fine. It's totally great. I mean, obviously, it's great. So.
Yeah, yeah. Now that we're moving into the whole, like, just basically lack of tape, straight to hard drives, straight to digital, how do you feel about the whole, just whether it's a one-shot recording with a webcam straight to YouTube, contrasting that with a really nice, cleanly polished edit with all the different types of shots? Where do you stand with all of that?
They serve different purposes. You know, if a car is being blown up by a criminal, a camera mounted to a telephone pole that's the traffic camera will have incredibly powerful footage of this. And it needs no edits other than maybe shortening it to whatever the interesting part is.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need any suspense built, right? It's just a document of this thing. To the degree that video is documenting as objectively as, you know, that media allows, you know, one camera is fine, right? Without any shots, without any edits. But again, that's like, for me, that's like saying that, I don't know, I'm going off wild here, so I'll try this out. But it's sort of like saying that haiku is a really great form of poetry, so there really is no need for literature in general, because haiku is so wonderful, and expressive and magical, and I'm a master of it.
Right.
The language that I'm trying to communicate is about what happens when you juxtapose shots to tell a story, to create a point of view on something. It isn't objective reality. You can have in your heart that you're going to recreate reality in a faithful way, to convey what you do. I mean, my videos are sort of soppy sentimental. That doesn't mean that my life is like that. That's just the way I choose to remember it that way. Mm-hmm. Editing can make anything happen. I can shoot these things, and so the point that I'm trying to get to normal people is that, first of all, they need to understand the degree that editing media, which is the way they consume it generally, is persuasive and not objective. And so just by giving someone the tools and say, here, tell the story, make it soppy sentimental. Here, make that guy look like an idiot. Here, make that guy look like a genius. Uh-huh. You know, look how much you control. It's not, you think that you just shot a real event with 3 cameras, and so what, you know, it's a reality. But it's not, and it doesn't mean we're using special effects. It just means that through the editing, we're telling a story. And so I'm teaching storytelling, and not just fiction storytelling, but sort of documentary storytelling. Mm-hmm. The documentary just happens to be about your life. So I think that it's important in the teaching of it that people understand what these close, medium, and wide shots do, and why you use them, and what happens when you cut back and forth, and how you can create suspense or create humor. And there's no such thing as legitimate in editing.
It's all subjective.
It's all constructed. And the sooner that children and anybody realizes that they're being told something, it's being presented to them to make them think something a certain way, the better we are. Right. I mean, I have a couple things I do. My kids are very media literate, but not in the way most kids are. When a commercial comes on television, from as soon as the first time they watch television, I explained what was going to happen before it happened. I turned off the TV and we talked about what commercials were. And I said that a company has spent a great deal of money for 900 frames, that at the end of 30 seconds, you will, without the ability to control it, want whatever they have. And I want you to watch this. And so we would turn on a commercial, and it would be for something, some toy or something. And I'd stop, and at the end, I'd say, how do you feel? They're like, we want one. I'm like, right. Okay? And I got them to be suspicious of that feeling that, wow, in 30 seconds, they've made you think you want that so badly. So think how powerful that is about anything. Right. I can make you afraid of something that quickly. I can make you hate someone that quickly. That's what they are masters, because they're spending millions of dollars for 30 seconds. It's the most expensive production, even next to Avatar, per frame. It is the most expensive thing that we do in our country. is make commercials.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want children to understand how powerfully persuasive this is. And now my kids who are 10 and 7, when they watch something, it's a laugh. It's no longer an argument. It's a laugh. Like, wow, I can't believe they made that look good. I can't believe I want that so badly right now. You know, that's the conversation, not about that they want it. Right. It's that they've been made to want it.
That makes it seem almost like that should be a mandatory conversation with a 3rd grade class.
I agree. I think kids are so media literate, but they're not being taught media. They're just experiencing media, mm-hmm. and they don't fully understand what its powers are. And that I like now that they have the tools that they can do it themselves, and that anybody can do it themselves. And so, you know, one of my premises of the book, which hopefully comes through, is that, you know, I'm not trying to teach people to be filmmakers. You can be a filmmaker. That's like learning to type and saying that you're going to be an author, or learning to cook and say you're going to be a chef. And the truth is, you know, you learn to cook to survive, and you learn to write to communicate. And making videos is just another form of communication that you need to know how to do, so that your projects, you can choose the right medium for your project. It might be a written thing, it might be a photograph, it might be a video, and you don't have just a screwdriver, so everything you make is a nail.
Right, right. Yeah.
I might mix my metaphors creatively.
Absolutely. Right. When you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
That's right.
How would you suggest to accomplish the more permanency of archiving? Hard drives are okay to a point, but they're not a permanent archive of the videos that you may want to edit later in life.
Right. Eventually they fail, and tape you have for 100 years.
Well, unfortunately, tape you don't have for 100 years either. Yeah. Celluloid you've got for 100 years, and celluloid's gone.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to a larger problem of which video is just one of the victims. And the truth is that we are in this digital culture now that all of our media has gone from something that was tangible to something that is ephemeral and very volatile. And for the rest of our civilization, or at least until something else comes along, we're kind of in a very dangerous sort of position that we could lose everything so easily. You know, it could be all converted from film to a drive, and then the drive is destroyed, and then you're done. Right. Now, the only good thing about it is that that it's ubiquitous and so fluid that, you know, we'll have so much storage in America, in the world. We'll have, you know, xenobytes, or I don't know, whatever, zettabytes, whatever's after tera and peta and whatever, that things will be replicated repeatedly if they're important. And I think this speaks to the way memory works anyway, which is that if you don't use it, you do lose it. In general, memories work best because we throw things out. If we remembered everything we ever learned, we wouldn't be able to function in some sense. And there's this natural weeding process of what's really important through what is allowed to fade away and what is not allowed to fade away, because it is replicated and shared and printed out and put over hundreds of computers. And I have to say that forgetting is an important part of remembering. I think that it's okay. I think we need to be okay that we're going to lose stuff. We are capturing so much stuff. Another anecdote from my family is that you know, there was a time in history that there would be one photograph of a couple, and maybe 5 years later there'd be another photograph of them with the baby. And, you know, a family had a handful of photographs from its history, you know, and then Kodak popularized cameras, and then we had scrapbooks of photos, and you'd go on vacation and you'd take a few pictures. And now, you know, I go on a trip and I've got 2,000 photos of it. I feel like I've documented every iota of my children's life in photograph and video. I think that the videos and the photos shape our recollections of these things in ways that may not be appropriate. So all this is to say that, you know, we have every moment of time captured, and I kind of wish that I didn't have so much. Sometimes it's nice to stop the recording, not use video and use a still photo. Capture this entire vacation in one snapshot, not 40 hours of film.
Thank you so much for talking with us, chatting with us. for keeping it academic, if you will.
Yes, I'm happy to oblige.
And making it.
If you have more questions, if you guys need anything else, just ping me. I'm around.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Michael.